It was past 2 in the morning. The only light in the room came from the phone screen, casting a pale glow across their face. They had picked up the phone just to look for a few minutes before going to sleep. But almost an hour had passed. They were looking at other people's lives, watching their successes, and thinking about how happy everyone else seemed. Someone had started a new job. Someone had bought their dream car. Someone else, in another corner of the world, was drinking coffee by the ocean. When they locked the phone, the silence of the room suddenly felt much heavier. Because the moment a person stops watching the lives of others, they are left alone with their own. And that night, they asked themselves this question: when will I start living? Maybe you have asked this question at some point in your life too. Maybe you do not have a bad life right now. Maybe you are working, fulfilling your responsibilities, and getting through your days somehow. But there is an emptiness inside you that you cannot explain. You feel as though there are much greater things you could be doing. It feels like life is moving forward, but you are not fully participating in your own story. Most people wait for a massive event to change their lives. A perfect opportunity, the right person, a large sum of money, a sudden burst of motivation, a miraculous day that will change everything. But most of the time, life does not change in grand moments, but in the small decisions no one sees. The decision you make when the alarm goes off in the morning. The decision you make when someone disrespects you. Those few seconds where you decide whether to take a step forward even though you are afraid. Your decision on whether to push something you can do today off until tomorrow. The thing that changes your life is not what you plan to do one day. It is what you do over and over again every single day. In this video, I will not tell you the secret to getting rich overnight, feeling happy all the time, or never getting tired. Instead, I will talk about 7 small decisions that quietly change your life. None of these decisions may seem very big from the outside. No one might applaud you. In fact, the people around you might not even notice the change in you at first. But when you truly start applying these decisions, you will not think the same way a few months from now. And a few years from now, you will probably not be the same person. The first decision is this: do not underestimate the promises you make to yourself. A person's self-trust is not only built when they are successful. It is built when they keep the promises they make to themselves. You say you will wake up early tomorrow, and you do not. You say you will exercise today, and you do not. You say you will finish this work tonight, but you delay it again. You say you will start on Monday. Monday comes, and this time you wait for next month. From the outside, these are small events. But your mind records every single one of them. Every broken promise slightly diminishes your credibility in your own eyes. After a while, when you set a new goal, a quiet voice starts to rise from within. You will not do this either. This is the point where most people think they have no motivation. However, the problem is not always motivation. Sometimes the problem is that a person no longer believes in themselves. And the way to regain self-confidence is not to set massive goals. On the contrary, it is to make small promises you can actually keep. Instead of saying you will read a book for 2 hours every day, you can say you will read 10 pages every day. Instead of saying you will exercise 7 days a week, you can say you will move your body for 20 minutes 3 days a week. Instead of saying you will completely change your life, you can say you will finish just one task today. The goal here is not to be perfect. The goal is to teach your mind this message. Again, when I say something, I do it. When you start keeping the small promises you make to yourself, you build something invisible from the outside. Character. Character is not what you do when people are watching you. It is what you do in the moments when no one sees you. The second decision: stop trying to keep up with everything. Modern life constantly tells us that we need to do more, work more, learn more, earn more money, meet more people, consume more content, set more goals. But no one tells you that while trying to keep up with everything, you might fall behind on yourself. Throughout the day, dozens of messages, videos, notifications, news, and thoughts enter our minds. The moment we open our eyes in the morning, we start reading what others have said. The last thing we see before going to sleep at night is once again the lives of others. Then we wonder why we do not know what we want. It is because we do not stay quiet long enough to hear our own voice. You do not have to keep up with everything. You do not have to know every piece of news. You do not have to join every argument.
You do not have to explain yourself to everyone. Sometimes, the most important thing that moves your life forward is not adding something new, but removing what is unnecessary. Turning off certain notifications on your phone. Walking away from an environment that constantly drains you. Questioning a relationship you maintain only out of habit. Refusing to give a specific part of your day to anyone. Being alone is not always loneliness. Sometimes, being alone is simply letting your mind belong to you again. Set aside at least a few hours a week for yourself. During these hours, you do not have to produce anything. You do not have to be useful to anyone, entertain anyone, or answer to anyone. Just think, what kind of life do I truly want? Are the things I am doing right now bringing me closer to that life? Or do I only think I am moving forward because I am busy? Remember, moving is not the same as making progress. A person can run all day, but if they are running in the wrong direction, they only get further away from their destination. The third decision. Deciding not to run away from feeling uncomfortable. The human brain loves safety. It prefers familiar environments, familiar people, and familiar outcomes. That is why, even though we want change, we often return to our old routines. We want to start a new job, but we are afraid of failing. We want to tell someone our feelings, but we are afraid of being rejected. We want to live in a new city, but we are afraid of losing the comfort we are used to. We want to start our own project, but we worry about what people will say. In the end, we create excuses that seem logical to us. It is not the right time yet. I need to be a little more ready. I should get more information first. Let the conditions improve a bit, then I will start. But most of the time, feeling ready does not come before you take action. It comes after you take action. The reason the first step is scary is not that you are on the wrong path. It is that you are on a path you have never walked before. Discomfort is not always a bad sign. Sometimes it is proof that you are growing. The first time you work out, your muscles ache. The first time you speak in front of a crowd, your voice trembles. The first time you set a boundary, you might feel guilty. The first time you make your own decision, some people around you might be bothered by it. Because when you change, the dynamic people are used to changes as well. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is taking action despite the fear.
Ask yourself this question. What would I do today if I knew I could not fail? The answer that comes to your mind is likely the desire you have hidden behind your fear for a long time. Then ask a second question. Even if I fail, what will this experience teach me? Because failure is rarely the end of the road. It is a point where the road gives you valuable information. Making a mistake does not mean you are inadequate. Never making a mistake usually means you are not trying anything new enough. The fourth decision. Stopping the comparison between yourself and the visible lives of others. One of the greatest sources of unhappiness for a person is comparing the behind the scenes of their own life with someone else's highlight reel. You know your own fears. You know your debts. You know the things you cannot do, the problems you think about at night, and the worries you do not tell anyone. But you only see the photographs someone else chooses to share. You see their smile, but you do not know what they went through 5 minutes before that picture was taken. You see their success, but you do not know how many times they failed to get there. You see the money they make, but you do not know the price they paid. You see their relationship, but you do not know the silence inside their home. Comparison is rarely fair, because you only fully know one of the two stories you are comparing. The successes of others can guide you, but when used to measure your own worth, they will consume you. There will always be someone in the world who is richer, more beautiful, younger, more successful, or more talented than you. If you spend your life constantly in this race, you will never feel like you are enough, because the finish line is always moving. The only person you truly need to compare yourself to is your past self. What do you know now that you did not know 6 months ago? What event that crushed you a year ago no longer affects you as much today? What task that you used to put off for hours can you now do more easily? Growth is not always visible through massive results. Sometimes growth is simply being able to quietly ignore a message you once felt obligated to answer. Sometimes it is being able to walk away from an environment that belittles you. Sometimes, after making the same mistake, it is asking yourself what you can learn instead of insulting yourself. Keep your eyes on your own path. You may be moving slowly, but a slow step in the right direction is much more valuable than sprinting in the wrong direction. The fifth decision. Taking seriously who and what you give your energy to. Life is not just made up of time. It is also made up of energy. You talk to some people for 10 minutes, and you feel stronger. You spend a few minutes with others, and your energy for the whole day vanishes. Some tasks make you feel a sense of purpose in the end, even if they exhaust you. Other tasks are physically easy, but drain your soul. That is why you should not just ask, "What am I spending my time on?" You must also ask, "What am I spending my energy on?" On people who constantly complain? On events you cannot change? On arguments that lead you nowhere? On trying to change the mind of someone who does not value you? On reliving a mistake you made in the past over and over in your head? Your energy is not limitless. When you wake up in the morning, you wake up with a certain amount of focus, patience, and willpower. Throughout the day, you distribute these to different places. If you give too much energy to important things, you will have no strength left when it comes to the things that matter. You do not have to fight every battle. You do not have to correct every misunderstanding. You cannot make everyone think correctly about you. Sometimes peace is much more valuable than being right.
If a person is determined to misunderstand you, even your most accurate words will not be enough. The day you stop constantly explaining yourself, you will feel a tremendous sense of freedom. The people who truly know you do not doubt you at every rumor, and the opinions of people who do not know you should not dictate the direction of your life. Protecting your energy is not selfishness. When you do not direct your energy to the right places, you will have nothing left to give to the people you love, to your dreams, or to yourself. The sixth decision. Forgiving your past self. Maybe you made a wrong decision years ago. You trusted the wrong person. You missed an opportunity because you were afraid. You said something you should not have said. You regret not starting earlier. You stayed silent in a place where you should have defended yourself. You stayed where you should have left. You left where you should have stayed. And today, you are still punishing yourself for the decision you made back then. But you must not forget this truth. The you of that time did not know what the you of today knows. It is easy to judge your past self with your current wisdom, because now you know the outcome. But on that day, you made a decision using only the knowledge, emotions, and resources you had. Maybe it was a wrong decision, but making a wrong decision does not mean you are a bad person. Sometimes a person does not mourn the thing they lost, but rather the old version of themselves who lost it. I wish I had been stronger. I wish I had realized this earlier. I wish I had valued myself more. But healing is not pretending the past never happened. Healing is not allowing what happened to control your life today. The past can teach you a lesson, but it does not have to be a prison you live in for the rest of your life. Forgiving yourself does not mean accepting everything you did as right. It means seeing your mistake, taking responsibility, and deciding not to remain the same person. If there is someone you need to apologize to, apologize. If there is something you have the chance to fix, fix it. But stop punishing yourself anew every single day for an event you can no longer change. If you constantly pick at a scab, you will never let it heal. Sometimes the most powerful sentence a person needs to say to themselves is this: I did not know any better. Now I do. And from now on, I will act differently. The seventh, and perhaps the most important decision: not waiting for the perfect time for your life to begin. Most people divide life into two parts: the period they are living in right now and the real life they will live one day. One day, when I make enough money, I will be comfortable. One day, when things settle down, I will make time for myself. One day, when I meet the right person, I will be happy. One day, when my debts are paid off, I will start living. One day, when I am more confident, I will do what I want. But life is not lived in that uncertain future we call one day. Life is happening right now. Time is passing as you listen to these sentences. Maybe you're having an ordinary day. Maybe you're sitting in your room, walking, working, or heading somewhere. But years from now, it is entirely possible that you will miss these very days. A person who is by your side right now might not be in your life one day. The house you complain about today could become a beautiful memory in the future. The body you consider ordinary right now might be the health you wish to have years later. A phone call that feels normal to you today could be a voice you would give anything to hear again one day. That is why you should not constantly delay life into the future. This does not mean you should give up on your goals. Work hard. Make plans. Build a better life. But while building that life, do not completely miss the life you have right now. Happiness is not a reward you reach when everything is completed, because everything is never completely finished. One problem ends, another problem begins. You reach one goal, you want a bigger one. You fill one gap, you see another. The human mind quickly adapts to new conditions. For this reason, if you tie your peace of mind solely to results, peace will constantly remain a few steps ahead of you. Sometimes, drinking a coffee without rushing is also living. Truly listening to someone you love is also living. Looking up at the sky while walking down the street is also living. Calling someone you have not called in a long time is also living. Giving yourself an evening you have denied yourself for years is also living. Life does not always consist of grand stages. The majority of it is made up of ordinary moments that no one takes pictures of. And when you look back one day, you will realize that most of the things you miss are those ordinary moments. Now, I want you to stop for a moment. Think about the thing you have wanted to change in your life recently. Maybe it is your job. Maybe your relationships. Maybe your body. Maybe your mental state. Or maybe a dream you have been putting off for a long time. Now ask yourself honestly, what am I really waiting for? More motivation? Someone else's permission? For my fear to disappear completely? Perfect conditions? If you wait until you feel ready, you might wait a very long time, because a person usually becomes ready simply because they started. You do not have to change your entire life today. You do not have to solve all your problems. You only need to make the next right decision. Putting the phone down a little earlier. Submitting that application you have been delaying. Walking for 10 minutes. Writing one page. Making one phone call. Saying no to something that drains you. Facing the truth you have been running away from for a long time. Small decisions seem insignificant because they do not show their results immediately. Working out for one day will not change your body. Reading a book for one day will not change your life. Waking up early for one day will not make you successful. Not making an unnecessary purchase for one day will not make you rich. But when these decisions are repeated, your identity begins to change. You are no longer someone trying to work out. You become someone who cares about their body. You are not someone trying to read. You become a learner. You are not someone trying to build a project. You become a creator. You are not someone trying to protect yourself. You become someone with boundaries. True change begins when what you do transforms into who you are. Perhaps you have started and quit many times before. This does not mean you cannot start again. Maybe you think you have lost years, but you do not have to lose the years ahead of you by grieving over the past. Maybe the people around you do not believe in you. It is normal for them not to believe in you at first, because they see what you have done in the past, not your intentions. Do not try to prove that you have changed with your words. Show it over time. Work quietly. Keep your small promises. When you fall, get back up. When you miss a day, do not abandon everything. One mistake does not mean the entire process is ruined. Overeating at one meal does not end your healthy living goal. Not working for one day does not mean you have completely lost your discipline. One bad decision does not define your whole life.
One of the biggest mistakes people make is turning a small detour into a complete surrender. You do not have to be perfect. You have to learn how to bounce back. Because strong people are not the ones who never fall. They are the ones who learn not to stay down when they do. Now, let us return to that night at the very beginning. It was past 2 in the morning. The light of the phone was glowing in the room, and a person was watching the lives of others. Then they locked their phone and asked themselves this question: when will I start living? The answer was simpler than they thought. Not tomorrow, not on Monday, not when the new year arrives, not when everything is fixed, not when you feel ready. Right now. Because on the day your life changes, a special sign will not appear in the sky. No one will knock on your door and tell you that it is finally time to begin. No perfect music will play. You might not feel extraordinarily strong. It will probably be an ordinary day. Maybe you will be tired. Maybe you will be afraid. Maybe you will not be entirely sure of what you're doing. But you will make a small decision, and that decision will turn into another decision, then another. Days will pass. From the outside, it will look like nothing is happening, but you will change from the inside. Your thoughts will change. Your standards will change. The way you view yourself will change. And when you look back one day, you will realize that the thing that changed your life was not a grand miracle. The thing that changed your life will be a small decision you made in a moment when no one was watching, keeping the promise you made to yourself, letting go of what is unnecessary, taking a step forward despite the fear, not comparing yourself to others, protecting your energy, forgiving your past self, and not delaying life any longer. You do not have to see the entire path today. You only need to see the first step in front of you, because sometimes a new life does not begin with the opening of a massive door. Sometimes it begins simply with a quiet sentence a person says to themselves: "This time, I will not let myself down."